Well, I'm excited that we've started having acolytes this morning. But I got to admit that I kind of lied to our acolytes who were in training. Acolytes have to sit in the front row in that chair right there, and Zachary's doing such a good job taking his sermon notes. And I said that your parents aren't going to be next to you, but the Harringtons are. And your parents have given the Harringtons to do whatever it takes to make sure you don't fool around. And by the way, Paul Harrington used to wrestle in the WWF. So, but that's a lie. So today I want to tell Jonah's story again and the day servant's story again. And the reason why I started with that is because when people are told a lie, they get angry. And I think today's texts are all about anger. It's about Jonah, who, we all know the story of Jonah and the whale, right? Jonah was in the whale for 3 days. Well, the background behind that story is God went to Jonah and said, you have to go to Nineveh. And Nineveh is a city that the people, they're doing bad things. And you need to go there and you need to straighten them out, or I'm going to come and I'm going to destroy them. And Jonah said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to walk into a city full of wicked people and tell them that they're wicked. They're going to kill me. And so Jonah tried to run away. And he tried to go as far away as possible. And that's when the whale comes, and Jonah is eaten by the whale and spends 3 days in the whale, and then the whale brings Jonah back to Nineveh. And Jonah says, well, I guess I don't have a choice. So he walks into the city of Nineveh, in the center of it, and says, you people are wicked, and if you don't change your ways, God is going to destroy you. And they all said, wait, what did you just say? And Jonah was like, here we go. He said, you people are wicked. And if you don't change your ways, God is going to destroy you. And everyone said, did you hear that? We need to change our ways. We need to stop being wicked. And they did. They started being kind and good to one another. And so God said, well, I'm not going to destroy Nineveh now. And Jonah, this is where we get the story today, is angry because Jonah wants to see Nineveh destroyed. So he's angry with God. Same story with the day servants. The one gets picked up very early in the morning and does the most work, yet they all get paid the same. And at the end of the day, he's angry because he feels like he deserves more. He's angry because God is generous. And so, anger. There's a lot of anger in our world today. There's a lot of anger that surrounds us, and I think we'd be better off with some different kind of anger and let go of some of the anger that we live with. So I'd like to talk about that today. But first I want to talk about anger at ourselves. Have you ever been angry with yourself? Pete? Last weekend we were at the men's retreat and had to go to the restroom in the middle of the night. And so I had my phone because it was a flashlight. And the unthinkable happened. The phone ended up in the toilet. And there's no way you can look at a toilet with your phone in it and not be angry. But it's important to forgive yourself. Let's talk about others. There was just water in the toilet, just so you know. Anger can be healthy. And healthy anger is good for relationships. I know that anyone who's been married has had healthy anger, hopefully, towards your spouse. But healthy anger is a little different than what we think of when we think of anger. The first thing is healthy anger is slow to anger. Our Psalm tells us today that God's anger is slow to anger. Slow to anger, which means we don't react right in the moment. It means we take time. We went on this men's retreat last week, and I was just we were out in the field, and just sitting there and having time to process life was just so powerful. To process the things that are going on in my life, the relationships that I have, the conversations I've been having, to think through things. Because in life, we don't have time to process. We just get so much thrown at us all the time. We don't take time to process what's going on. And healthy anger is processed anger. To think about what's going on in my life and to think, do I need to be angry about that? But it's not an anger that is a rage. It's an anger that is calm. I'm calm and I'm angry, and we need to talk. It's a much healthier way to be angry. Because healthy anger helps us to set boundaries in life and in relationships. Set boundaries with the people that we spend our lives with. To say, hey, you know what, there are certain things that I'm okay with, and there's certain things I'm not. It's something for me, as you well know, will say dumb things at any moment. I think it's funny, and I've learned with some I can be more loose with others. I've learned that there's boundaries. There's boundaries in relationships. And I try not to say anything ever that's offensive. But we all cross the line at times, right? And we have to be shown there's a line in our relationship. And healthy anger lets us know that there's a line. And healthy anger, it comes from a place of honesty within us. We have to be open and honest and share that with others. Because if we're in relationship with somebody who continually crosses the line, the relationship isn't going to last. And so we have to be open and honest and say, listen, there's a line and you're crossing it. And if you value this relationship, you can't continue to cross it. That's part of what we do in marriage counseling, is helping people find the line so that they know what side of the line to stay on. Because you don't want to cross the line because the anthem this morning was beautiful about loving one another. If we truly love one another and we care for one another, we're not going to cross that line. And so honesty is good. But then there's unhealthy anger. And I think we all know unhealthy anger when we see it, right? It's a quick response. It's in the moment. It's when somebody I was driving the other day and I heard a horn. And I assumed they were beeping at me. Every time I hear a horn, I assume someone's beeping at me, and I turn and say, "What are you beeping at?" And I can't even tell what car blew their horn, but nobody's looking at me, and I just got to get over it. Unhealthy anger is just letting the rage come out in the moment. It's a temper tantrum. Children throw temper tantrums, right? Because they don't get what they want, and that's their way of responding. And the best way that my parents dealt with my temper tantrums was ignoring me. And as adults, I know I throw temper tantrums a lot. But they're quick. And they're typically when the Tigers aren't playing well. Or when other stupid things in life bother me. Things that aren't important. But I just get Michigan football. It's terrible. It's driving me crazy. But it's stupid. And I think many times in life, we just respond with rage without really thinking through why we're angry or how we should respond. And it's unhealthy. But what I don't get, well, I guess I do get it, but the day workers who are upset or angry with the landowner for being generous to others. It's unhealthy to be angry at the generosity of others towards others. But it happens, and it happens a lot. I'm going to share a story that I was told in confidence, so I'm not going to say the names, but nobody in this congregation. A friend of mine he's one of 4 brothers and sisters, and his uncle passed away and left my friend everything. He's not the oldest. He's just one of the middle children, and the uncle left him everything, and the other brothers and sisters got nothing. If you were in that situation, and your brother or sister, he was young, he was 25, got everything, would you be angry? He told me that story, and I was angry for his brothers and sisters. I said, that is ridiculous. How unfair is that? I said, what did they say? And my parents told me not to tell them. I mean, it's just, there are certain things where it just doesn't seem right, does it? But even though it's not fair, does our anger change anything? Or do we just get bitter and jealous towards somebody who had nothing to do with the benefit that they've gotten? Anger, oftentimes, when it's unhealthy, doesn't do any good. But what about being angry with God? Is there room for anger in our relationship with God? What do you think? Hope so. I have to be honest. When it comes to my relationship with God, I'm angry about a lot of things. A lot of things. Things I may never get over. And even if God explained it to me like God did to Jonah and say, you don't really see the big picture, this is why I did that, I still don't know if there are things that I would get over. Bless you. And I don't think God did these things to me, or God did these things to people I know and people I love, but I think God could have prevented them. And I think we prayed for God to prevent them, and there's texts that say that when 2 or 3 pray the same thing, God will listen. And sometimes I feel like God didn't listen, so I'm angry. But I think anger is normal, and it's healthy for people who put trust and hope in God. Because anger in God just means that we trust God a lot. And that's okay. Anger is normal, and it's fair. And I think if God were more fair, good people would live easier lives. And if God were more fair, children wouldn't get sick. And if God were more fair, nobody would ever be lonely or afraid. And if God were more fair, Jesus wouldn't have died on the cross. He gave his life for us. He died for us. So there's things we just have to live with. Like Paul in his letter today. I wish I was dead. I wish I didn't have to live through this any longer. But I do. But here's the thing, is we can live with it, and we can be angry about it. And we can be angry at God, and God still loves us the same. All of us. Amen.